35 billion pounds of tomatoes a year. Most come from a can. And every time you reach past it for a fresh one, you think you're making the better choice. But here's something that might surprise you. That fresh tomato traveled farther to reach you than the one in the can. It was bred for a completely different purpose, and flavor wasn't one of them. And the thing you assume makes canned food worse, the heat, the processing, the sealed metal container, turns out to make tomatoes better in ways that fresh tomatoes can't match. Independent lab tests have confirmed it. The can wins, on flavor, on nutrition, even on safety, and it's not close. So what happens between the field and that sealed lid that makes a processed tomato outperform the one you picked up with your own hands? There are two kinds of tomatoes in the world, and the industry doesn't want you thinking about the difference. Fresh market tomatoes, the ones in the produce section, are bred for the trip. Thick skin, firm flesh, picked hard and pale, shipped hundreds of miles in refrigerated trucks, then gassed with ethylene to trigger the color. They look ripe. They're not. Logistics tomatoes, built to arrive photogenic, not flavorful. Processing tomatoes are a different plant entirely, bred to ripen all at once on the vine under open sky in California's Central Valley. Denser flesh, lower water content, nearly double the sugar. When ready, a mechanical harvester picks the entire crop in one pass, dirt to truck to factory, usually within 6 hours. 95% of every processed tomato in America grows in that one valley. But canning itself, that started with a confectioner who bet everything on a theory he couldn't prove. 1810. Nicolas Appert sealed food in glass jars and boiled them. It worked. He had no idea why. Pasteur wouldn't prove bacteria existed for another 50 years. Now here's the kicker. Canned food existed nearly 50 years before anyone invented a can opener. Soldiers pried their rations open with bayonets and chisels. Appert published his method, opened a factory, watched invading troops destroy it, rebuilt, got pushed out again, and died in poverty, while armies across Europe ate meals his process made possible. 200 years later, inside a modern canning factory, the answer to why his method worked is the same reason canned tomatoes beat fresh. Here's the thing nobody tells you. While a fresh tomato sits in a refrigerated truck between Sinaloa and your supermarket, losing flavor aroma, the compounds that make it taste like a tomato, a processing tomato is already inside the factory. 6 hours from vine to line. Everything next is designed to lock in what the fresh tomato is busy losing. First, the flume. Trucks dump tomatoes into channels of rushing water that sweep off dirt, leaves, stems. But there's another reason every truck goes through its own wash station, and we'll come back to that. Then sorting. Optical cameras scan every tomato at several hundred per second. Color, size, shape. Anything too green, too damaged, too small, gets a burst of compressed air and blown off the line. You'd never catch it. The camera does. One flash of green in a river of red, gone. But here's the thing. The tomatoes drop into a blancher, water at 88 degrees Celsius, 30 to 60 seconds. Just enough to blister the skin, not enough to cook the flesh. Steam peelers blast the skins off. Cold water shock stops the heat instantly. From here, the line splits. Whole peeled stay intact, packed with their own juice. Dice hit a cutting grid, crushes go through a breaker, and paste enters a vacuum evaporator. Juice cascades down heated plates under negative pressure, boiling off water at just 65 degrees Celsius instead of 100. 6 to 8 hours until 80% of the moisture is gone. What's left is dense, concentrated tomato, roughly 6 kilograms of fresh fruit compressed into 1 kilogram of paste. Cans move to the filler, a volumetric piston machine that doses exact amounts. A touch of salt, maybe calcium chloride for firmness. No preservatives, no artificial anything, just tomato. The lid seams on, airtight. Now here's the wild part. The sealed cans roll into a retort, a pressurized steam chamber at 121 degrees Celsius, 20 to 40 minutes. This is the step Appert figured out 2 centuries ago without understanding why. At that temperature, every spore of Clostridium botulinum, the deadliest pathogen in canned food, is destroyed. That's what keeps the can shelf-stable for years. No refrigeration, no chemicals, just heat and a sealed lid. But the retort does something else. That heat cracks open the tomato's cell walls and releases lycopene, the pigment that makes tomatoes red and their most potent antioxidant. In a raw tomato, lycopene sits locked in a form your body can't absorb. Heat reshapes it, smaller, bendable, bioavailable. A Cornell study found that 30 minutes at 88 degrees Celsius increased absorbable lycopene by 164%. The step you thought was destroying the food is actually unlocking it. A pert didn't know. Now you do. After the retort, cans go through incubation, held at 37 degrees for 10 days. If a can swells, the batch fails. The ones that pass get labeled, boxed, and stacked. No refrigeration, no rush. They'll sit on your shelf for years and deliver more absorbable lycopene than the fresh tomato you bought yesterday. Here's where the story flips. You just saw how the factory works. You know canned beats fresh on nutrition. But two things happening right now are changing what's in your can and threatening the supply you didn't know was fragile. The label. In May 2026, 2 California consumers sued Cento Fine Foods, alleging tomato fraud. Cento's label says Certified San Marzano, but the suit claims those tomatoes lack DOP certification from Italy's official consortium. Cento calls it entirely without merit. But Italy's canned tomato exports just fell for the first time in a decade, down 8% in value. When supply tightens, labels get creative. The soil. A parasitic weed called branched broom rape is spreading underground in California's Central Valley. Seeds smaller than finely ground spice, dormant for decades until a tomato root grows close enough to latch onto. Severe infestations cut yields 80%. That wash station from earlier, it wasn't just cleaning. Quarantine, sanitation agreements went voluntary in 2025, mandatory in 2026, to stop invisible seeds from riding harvesters between fields. So let's go back to that tomato in your hand. You know that red might be logistics, not ripeness, a color triggered by ethylene gas inside a shipping container, not by sunlight on a vine. You know every can on your shelf delivers more absorbable lycopene than the fresh tomato beside it, and it didn't need refrigeration, chemicals, or a single day of your time to get there. You know 95% of this country's processing tomatoes grow in one valley, and something invisible in the soil is coming for them. Next time you reach for a can, you're not settling. You're choosing the one picked ripe, processed fast, and built to deliver more of what matters. That's the process. We reveal how things actually work one story at a time. If there's something you'd like us to explore next, let us know. Until then, trust the process.